please take a roll.
Councilwoman Workla. Present. Councilman Brennan. Councilman Harjo. Councilwoman Garvey. Mayor Sykes.
Present. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for Tuesday, August 13th, 2024 at 5 p.m. We'll run down to a public hearing. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 3 minutes for city proposed budget for fiscal year 24-25. Would anybody like to come down and come on down, Chris?
Chris Alzola. Right? That's over there. Oh, Tiffany's gonna take care of me. So anyway, I just was looking over the budget and just have concerns, and I want you guys to be aware of what this budget is you're approving an $84 million budget, which is $17 million than your previous year. You have $8 million of taxes that you'll collect. So that means you've got like $76 million of fluff that comes from different places, different grants, I just want you to pay attention to this budget. It's growing, and you need to, I hope the council is good with numbers and pays attention to this. Some of the things that, is your administration budget is going up $3 million. Your wastewater and water, this is what I'm concerned about, is last year, when you guys passed the budget, and then in the middle of the year, you increased the water and the wastewater. You didn't have an emergency. It's just an easy way to get cash. If you're going to do that, I would assume it should be in this budget. There was no reason that I thought that you should do that. It's just because you could. So anyway, I just am concerned about this budget that keeps increasing, and your cash carry forward and stuff, I believe, is decreasing. So I want you to be very aware, this is a large budget that you're increasing. Anyway, that's just my comments.
Anybody else? All right, we'll close the public hearing. We're going to run down to presentations. Number 1, presentation from the Mountain Home Irrigation District. Come on down. Councilman Brennan.
Do you want to make an amendment to our agenda before we go any further?
Yeah, go ahead and sit down. Council, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda, if so moved, to add an executive session for time sensitive, and executive session would be J, item J.
Not item J, that.
Or 74-206, subsection J. Contract.
Alright.
Councilman Brennan?
I'll make a motion to add an executive session on an emergency basis for time sensitive needs, under, Idaho statute 6, section J for, executive sessions.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Thanks, Brennan. I had it on my top list. All right, Irrigation District. Sorry about that. So you have a presentation for us.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. I think Councilman Harjo's going to help with you guys too.
Alright, so my name is Rachel, and I work with the Mountain Home Irrigation District. What we're having right now is our tunnels are well over 100 years old, and they're deteriorating fast. So as we go further in, we can kind of give a little quick breakdown what's going on with the tunnels, what repairs that we've done currently, and what our asks are. So here you have tunnel 1 through 4. Basically, tunnel 1, the entrance and exit is deteriorating, and tunnel 2, the roof is starting to cave in, and tunnel 3, and tunnel 4, both the interior and the exterior, well, the entrance and the exit are deteriorating. Then we go into 5 through 8. As you can see that we're seeing some fatigue in 5, still same with the tunnel 6, as well as you're gonna see like holes in the rock because like I said, these are well over 100 years old and they were hand dug. So then in tunnel 7 and same deterioration in the entrance and exit, and then in tunnel 8 as well as the holes getting to be in the rock. Number 9 is one that we completed last year. It collapsed on us, and so this is kind of the work and the process that they did and what has been done. You can see that there's another slide further down that will show how they pushed the pipe in. Tunnel 10 is a very concern with all of us. As you can tell in those photos, that the roof is starting to cave in, the floor is lifting, and again, the entrance and the exit is deteriorating.
So that bottom left picture is a good picture, because that's what happens out of the gate. It starts undermining those stem walls. You can see it. That's a good picture. And then what happens after it undermines it, those stem walls settle and then they cave in. The tunnels actually collapse.
And then tunnel 11 and 12, both of them are having some deterioration in the entrance and the exit. As you can tell in the bottom one, you can see how it's exiting. There's a big hole, and how the floor is starting to deteriorate and is getting all rocky.
See, that bottom right picture, I mean, that tunnel is caught early is totally fixable with shotcrete. You know, the walls are still there, but I mean, it's time sensitive. It's just a matter of time before they collapse. Right now, it's not a massive dollar amount to fix it versus if it caves in.
This here shows, since we were really well on our budget on tunnel 9, we were able to utilize some of the funds from the grant that we had before, and we repaired tunnel 13. And here's some more photos.
Yeah, and that one was done from start to finish. It's totally completed.
Tunnel 14 is just, you can tell that the roof is getting a little bit unstable. There's holes in the tunnels, you know, on the walls, as well as showing some fatigue. Tunnel 15 is the one that has, tunnel 10 and tunnel 15 are our biggest concerns. Tunnel 15 is about ready to collapse. The roof is collapsing, is starting to divot. There's holes. As well, there's an S-curve in this tunnel. As you can tell, it's one of our longer tunnels, which is 1,265 feet. Anyways, it has an S-curve. If that S-curve collapses in the middle, it becomes a safety hazard for any workers to go in there to fix it.
And I just want to make a note that tunnel 10 and 15 are the two that we want to do the work on next, and both of those have S-curves in them. So we got lucky on the other one because it was straight. These ones we can't push pipe through.
So next we're going to show a video of tunnel 10. It's just a quick little 6-minute video. That way all you guys can see exactly what we're looking at.
So there's, you can see, there's an old patch in the roof right there. And this is what we've done in the past, see that tin on the roof? So we pour stem walls and then that's right there is a time bomb. There's another patch right there. And this part right here is what keeps us from ever being able to shove pipe through there. And a lot of these you get further into them, see how those walls and stuff are in a lot better shape towards the center. So this one in the center, I mean, preventative maintenance goes a long ways. I mean, that tunnel would last another 100 years. It just has to have the maintenance done on it. Getting seasick now.
Very, very good with that.
Yeah.
We're getting, yeah, you can see it. And as you can tell with this video, around the S curves is where we're having deterioration as well as the beginning and the end. So we're getting closer to the end and we're gonna start seeing a little bit more deterioration.
Is that the wall now on the side there?
Yep.
It's getting behind the walls
Yeah.
now.
Yep, so what'll happen is that stem wall's gonna collapse and then the roof's gonna follow it. Once those stem walls cave in, the roof is guaranteed to fall. And these tunnels they vary a little bit, but for the most part, they're 68 inches tall and 54 inches wide, so it's all hand labor, buckets, and I mean, the clock goes back 100 years when you gotta go in and clean one out. Do we have, there's one on there, that one that we repaired, isn't there?
I only drank down that one. I just wanna ask if you wanna bail on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. 13.
13.
So this is the one we did this spring.
Is this the one you shoved the pipe through or no?
Nope, this is one that we shock treated
Just recently?
this spring.
This is before the shop.
Yep.
I was gonna say, oh, get refunded.
No, those guys did an awesome job. That water goes through there, see where that high water. So when they got done shock treating that water level's only about half that high now. I mean, that water is just flying through there. You did a good job.
this is some of the projects we completed. We completed the Dixie culvert repair. There was a washout, and so we went in and, put a new culvert in.
So what happened here is there's two 48-inch culvert pipes that goes under the Anderson Dam Road, and they both collapsed. And they were put in the early 60s. So it was before the Mountain Home Highway District was the Mountain Home Highway District. So they ended up helping us. They paid a third of the repairs, but there was back and forth on whose responsibility it was. So anyways, we had to build a bypass canal around and cut through the Anderson Dam Road and put another culvert in to get the water running again. But it's just another example of, everything it's old. And it's talking to us the whole time. We need to be paying attention. And we got lucky on this one too.
And this is the completion of working and how our community, the farm community, as well as our shareholders came up and they helped us when Tunnel 9 collapsed. And with that help and utilizing their equipment, it able to save us some money, which we used towards Tunnel 13. So here's the breakdown. If we go and fix the whole 10% of the tunnel repairs.
So between the area we're looking at right now is between Little Camas and the last tunnel, which only comprises about 10% of our system. So the other 90%, well, we've been footing the bill on the whole thing. So we're asking for help on this section right here, this first stretch.
So what Eric was getting at was we're starting construction and repairs October 1st. And we're wanting to do, like iterated earlier, was Tunnel 15 and Tunnel 10. Those are our two priorities.
So is that was the one that looked like you were just gonna go straight across and have that open air access instead of tunnel, right? That one, 15?
15, yeah. So immediate repairs, we need to get the entrance and the exit done.
And this is where funding sources. We have an aging infrastructure grant that covers, we were awarded a little under 400,000. We in our budget, able to go towards this project is 70,000. We did apply for financial assistance with IDWB, and we're still waiting on that. Our asks are to get this project rolling is 200,000 from the city to help us, as well as we're gonna ask for the commissioners to help as well. I tried to get on to IDWR's board meeting to see if we can get 100% funding. I'm still having a hard time getting on their agenda. But I think once we get on that agenda, then we can get more assistance to offset that $5 million to complete the whole irrigation system in that area. Here is our funding, where we're coming up with our numbers. We have 124 shareholders. $60 per acre fee is how much they have per share is what is due. This is also an increase in this year. We did, we did infrastructure,
An aging
charge.
infrastructure
Thank
charge.
you, charge. Anyways, we ended up doing that, and we're still, as you can see in our numbers, we're still in the negatives majority of the time by the time the end of the year comes. In the last 8 years, we have upped our shareholders amount 61%.
And 29% in 24 in 1 year. So there's 124 shareholders, and we've been footing the bill since inception of the system. And we can only pound on the farmers so hard. And these assessments are due water, no water. I mean, there's years that the water runs out the end of June, but those assessments are still due. And they've paid them every year. The problem is, well, I'm gonna say our predecessors were maybe too frugal with their money. This stuff should have been happening a long time ago. We should be finishing now, not starting. This whole thing's a time bomb, and I mean, realistically, I think that we could do this within the next 10 years, but on year 9, I'm gonna be scared, because we're not there yet. But we gotta hammer away on it. Up there now, so this data, can you guys see that? Can we blow that up? Okay, so this is this year, 24. So the Mountain Home Reservoir filled on the 24th of February. And we didn't start delivering water until April 12th. So in that time frame, we put 6,400 acre feet into this aquifer from Canyon Creek. And then we also have another source of water, Rattlesnake. And there's no measuring device on there other than the district manager's observations on the flow, which he's pretty good at. He has to measure all the creek rights, you know. So Terry estimated there was another 480 acre feet that was recharged through Rattlesnake. And then if you go down from April 12th, which was our turn-on date, till July 31st, through our system, we put another 2,740 acre feet into the ground. And our calculations on those, how we come up with those numbers, there's a weir up at Canyon Creek at the bridge. So Terry has X amount of water orders. So in order, I'm just gonna use this as a example. So if he has 1,400 inches of orders, he has to send 1,800 inches down, or whatever is equivalent to, what was it, 25%?
Yes.
So anyways, long story short, we put, up till July 31st, we put 9,621 acre feet into the Mountain Home Aquifer out of 18,381, which was brought down. And the people that are footing the bill, the shareholders of the irrigation district, only received 8,760 acre feet. So more than half of it went in the ground, into the aquifer. And we have, you know, I farm, and I watch this water pretty close. And there's a gravel pit that didn't get water directly injected into it. And we dug down, it was already an open gravel pit, and it was about 20 foot to the bottom, and we dug down another 25 feet in April. It's dry. Still got water in it now, and the recharge pits are empty. So it brought that water table up to within 14 feet of ground level.
Is that the one where we peel off of Canyon Creek into those gravel pits over by the irrigation district?
Yeah, so this pit would be just west of the irrigation district shop,
Okay.
but it's not one of the recharge pits that we looked at.
Okay.
It's just right adjacent to the irrigation district shop.
You dug down at that one,
Yep.
40 feet?
Yeah, so from ground level, we were approximately 40 feet down. The gravel pit was already dug, and Cody Ireland went in there with a track hoe and dug down as far as he could reach, was about another 25 feet. And it was dry in April.
Wow.
recharge is working.
Let's see if you find
So, you guys have questions we can answer?
So like, we needed to ping it off of, our legal, so obviously, I guess what I would tell the citizens if I were you guys is, why would the citizens of Mountain Home give you guys money? And I'd throw me for it because you guys recharge, we have deep wells, and where does water go? That's you guys are recharging, you know, I mean, without that water coming from Long Tom and Little Camas, it's gonna go drier faster. And so, I guess a lot of people don't understand tunnels, like I didn't until I went out there with you and Councilman Harjo and Councilman Brennan. I always talk to Stephanie over there, we'll talk about tunnels, and I'm like, what are you talking about, you know? Like, think of tunnels down here in Mountain Home and things of that nature. Never in a million years I ever thought that that's where a ton of our, isn't that all of our water?
Yeah,
comes
that's
from?
the only recharge we have is through the system. That's it.
Right. So, I guess for the citizens of Mountain Home, I mean, that's where we get our water from. I think it's pretty important. But I guess we were talking to Paul Fitzer and we're gonna have the availability, right, Paula? Or, no, availability. If we were able to do it, that's where that funding would have to come from. Can't come from O&M, it has to come from, availability, and that's procuring. Was it water rights, more water rights? To us, where we'll be helping to keep the water coming and procuring water, right? So I don't know, that's a legal question. I'll leave it, we're gonna look into it, and move forward, because I'm not a water lawyer. Can you imagine, some of those people, that are very, it's like liquid gold, right?
Yep.
And people get very, guarded with their water, so. Council, what?
Underneath new business number 3, is that where we're supposed to deliberate and discuss the presentation?
Yeah. This is just open for discussion with them and,
And then at this point, can we call back up?
yeah. Councilman Brennan?
Hey guys, what's the best guess timeframe for going to IDWR and seeing stuff on the rest of it?
We've constantly been pounding them.
It's a daily, and I've talked to 3 different people, and they just say, well, apply for another grant, apply for another grant. The grants right now, I mean, they'll only fund 30%.
Did I have something worded wrong? You said you were trying to get on the agenda
I'm
for.
trying to get on the agenda onto the board themselves.
Oh, okay. Iowa
And
Water
to see,
Resources.
yes, to see if we can get, I'm shooting for 100% funding.
Do you know when you might get on their agenda?
It's a juggle. Yeah, I've been told by their secretary that as of now, we can still apply for grants.
She's been getting the door shut in her face for 3 months with us people.
Our, sorry, Councilman.
When do you expect, you have to like sign repair contracts to get started on your first big project?
So, the one that we don't like doing it in the spring, right? Because we've got that native flow that's coming, we gotta get ready for the season. Anyway, I twisted that guy's arm, and he come and repaired that one this spring. So I scheduled him, he's out of Pasco, and I scheduled him for October 1, he's coming.
Okay, you don't mind it before then, huh?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Forgot what I was gonna say. What else, got anything else for, Rachel and Eric?
I'd heard those numbers at one point in time, the city's use in acre feet. I'd seen that somewhere, and I don't remember where it was. Didn't they do a study on,
So the Elmore County did I think it was their hydrology study and all that stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman, it said that the city uses 5% of the total aquifer, that comes down and we pump up. I know what I was gonna say, so, and I'm open to having you guys utilize this gentleman. His name's Marty Anderson. He's our military liaison, but he works really close with Idaho Water Resource Board. He has a contact, very close with that contact. They're always in talks about obviously the Air Force Base's water project too. And so I'm opening the door there if you wanna utilize him and ask him. I'd say he's more of more water subject matter expert than I am. I'm not. I just rely on his, he did a lot of homework and all that good stuff. So, and grants also, if there's something that you also need help with, I'm opening the door to utilize Alexi too, and maybe his tag team in. Water's very important to the city of Mount Home, so, you know me. And I appreciate you taking your time too, to take a whole day off to spend it with, probably a whole day to spend it with us, to make us understand, or at least we understand, quintessentially where our water comes from.
Yeah, and I just wanna add to that deal on that study that was done, so, you know, this ditch system doesn't recharge Cinder Cone. It doesn't recharge Glen Sperry. I mean, the beneficiaries of it are, I mean, more or less within inside the district, the irrigation district boundaries. You know, it's a localized recharge, right? I mean, I can't say that it doesn't go 20 miles away, but just from what I see from farming, I can see it in this immediate area. And I've got farms out south and you know, it doesn't do anything for that. I mean, it is a localized recharge. So when they're, what I'm saying is the percentages need to be figured on the actual area that's getting the recharge and where the water's getting drawn from.
When I first sat down with you, said it was like 1.5 was the grant, and then it was that we were trying to do a third, like the city would do a third. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman, at Farm Bureau. Wasn't that a third from the city, third from the county, third from irrigation?
Mhm.
Did those numbers change?
No, we were just looking at the whole system where we got the 5.
Oh, okay.
So, but what we need to fix the critical places, that's where that falls in.
So going ahead, if we can establish something, I think that's the way it needs to be going forward on these repairs. Cause I mean, we blow our budget just on upkeep, and we can't keep up. And we're the shareholders are, I mean, they're getting hammered on, they're taking the brunt of this deal. We need some help. But I mean, from the farm side, you know, they're looking at $5 wheat and $4.50 corn and a 30% increase on their water. They don't pencil.
Right. I guess going back, I thought the city would do, I mean, weren't we talking 350, county 350, you guys 350? Was that the total all end all fee?
Well,
Was that wrong, Councilman?
Mayor, that was, I think in regard to how the construct of the grant was written, whereas somewhat, correct me if I'm wrong, it appears like the ask today is like to help get the critical infrastructure failures going, and that's kind of a separate topic from the grant.
Okay.
And that
There's a round 4 grant that we'll utilize once this round 3, or no, we're on round 3 right now. But once we can go into round 5 to do the smaller projects, they're not as invasive as this particular grant.
So, yeah, you're right, Rich. It was an ask on a third of that grant.
Okay.
But right now, we're asking for a lesser amount just to get rolling here.
Okay. This year.
Yep, this year. I would be back.
All right. Okay. All right. Council, got any more questions? Like I said, we'll bring you back up here in a little bit.
All right.
Section, new business number 2.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next presentation by Dick Riley regarding Idaho Sustainability Campus. Dick, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, I'd like to say good afternoon and thank you to the council for having us here and letting us provide an update on the Idaho Sustainability Campus. Let's take a quick look back if we can. In June of last year, we had a conversation with some of the city council members and updated them on the current status of IRWS, which is the landfill out in Elmore County. And during that conversation, we talked to you about the unlawful closure of that by the county and our current ongoing litigation. And that was both in the district court as well as the federal courts, and now we're in the appeals courts. Also in that conversation, we talked a little bit about the process to reopen. And in that process to reopen, not only the landfill itself, but the creation of what we call the Idaho Sustainability Campus. And that campus is really, in a nutshell, if I can explain it, it is a platform where all the waste that comes into the sustainability campus, basically 90% of that will be recycled and reprocessed and created into other commodities, and 10% of the waste goes into the landfill itself. And as part of that sustainability campus, we have the universities there to help us with technology, with engineering. The INEL wants to come on board and bring some of their technology. And so really it's a campus that's built for recycling and reducing the amount of waste that goes into the landfills. And one of those key pieces of that is that our vision is to take the sustainability campus here that would be in Mountain Home, and it's the beta site, and we're gonna take that around to strategic locations in the U.S. And the reason we're gonna take those to strategic locations is we have cities and municipalities out there that are under the gun to either eliminate their landfill. The environmental EPA says you can't build another landfill, and so they're looking at very large costs to remove that waste either by rail or some other fashion. And so they're actually contacting us, and we're not ready yet to go with it. They're very interested in what we're doing and who we're bringing to the table, because it's a matter of reducing that volume going into the ground or into a truck or a rail car and going somewhere else. So as part of this that we updated you guys on last year, and one of the key pieces is partnering with the local communities. And because we're going to put these sustainability campuses in the communities, we want those to be a really strong part of that, and that's why I'm here to discuss with you tonight. Really to discuss a concept that we focused on with staff and the sustainability campus. Our conversation with staff was about creating an agreement between the city and the sustainability campus. And that agreement would provide benefits directly to the townspeople who are paying the majority of those waste costs. The agreement would also provide the city a value-added waste disposal option. It would provide long-term surety to the city, and also a low-cost preference or value. The fee sharing that would be available would benefit the current and future budgets, and the funds that are allocated from the sustainability campus back to the community would be reviewed by the city council and provided to the community in the fashion that they see fit. Let's talk a little bit about the agreement that we talked with the staff about. The agreement would be a 20-year term. That provides the long-term surety that the staff was looking for. The disposal fee would be established at about $40 a ton, and within that $40 a ton, we have a co-op fee of $5 a ton and a host fee of $5 a ton, which would be credited back to the community. The net disposal cost was to be about $30 a ton, and if you look at that cost based around the marketplace and the other competitors out there, landfills, you would see that that's a very aggressive price, and so that met the value price that the staff was looking for within the long-term agreement. The city delivers about 25,000 tons annually to the landfill, and those numbers we have were taken from the transfer station, and that also includes the Mountain Home Air Base as well as the city. So if you take that $10 a ton that would be credited back to the community and multiply that by the 25,000 tons delivered, that would be a $250,000 annual payment or benefit back to the community. In talking with the staff, they asked us obviously when would those funds would they be available, and basically for us it would be like March 15th of the following year. And the reason being is we need to close the books and do what we have to do in those first couple of months and get the funds ready, and then we would make that payment to the city, and we want it to be so it's predictable and timely so you can plan around receiving those funds when they come through the door. Also within this agreement, we have to build in an economic adjustment factor, and I think everybody here is really familiar with that. Basically, at the end of the year, we're gonna go and look at the Fed numbers and see what inflation's doing, and the CPI and the garbage index, and then we come back and talk with the city about whether it's gonna stay flat, go up, or not change at all. And that would be in the coming year of January 1. Also, within these agreements, with this agreement, one of the things that we need to do is we need to make any agreement that we have contingent on the landfill opening, and that's because we're in the litigation that we're in. So that's a key piece. And one other key piece that I bypassed on the last slide was we have to make everyone aware that if we go forward with this agreement, since the very first one that we're gonna do, we really don't know when the landfill's gonna open. So we have to have 12 months of consecutive operations so we can fund that and bring it back to the city. So it's just not on the calendar year like we'd hope to get it on eventually, so. In having discussions with staff, one of the things that was really key is creating an increase, finding ways to increase and diversify the income stream coming into the city. And so basically with the first one, we've got a $250,000 fee that comes back based on the number of tons that are delivered to the sustainability campus. And then the other way that we saw that we could find more value and bring dollars back is if the city is out doing their normal course of business with other municipalities and cities, and they talk to them about what we're doing at the sustainability campus and bring them into the fold per se, and they sign an agreement, we also want to share that net revenue back with the city. And the way that we'd accomplish that is really sit down with staff, we'd figure out a formula for that, and to me, it's almost like a commission based. And so it's something that should be very simple to put together, but if you brought a city to the table, they signed an agreement with the sustainability campus, then we'd flow those funds back, those net funds back to the city for use in the community. Sure.
Just to add a part to that, some of the new programs federally, because the acquisition of the landfill was centered around the sustainability campus from the beginning, that's what we set out to do. By aligning the interests of the city, it opens up additional federal programs that we can add necessary components to, such as water. If we're recharging the aquifer and our facilities using water within that aquifer, there is a cause for us to build in assistance at levels that obviously were talked about tonight. So there are things that we can look at outside, and that's the picture of the campus, that it will work with the communities to help fund that.
So in following with that theme of trying to create more value for the community coming back, this is just a pro forma for the sustainability campus, and this is one of our conservative pro formas. We have medium and we have aggressive, and really it's I have it up there not to really talk about the pro forma per se, but really if you look over on the left side of that under the operating revenue, there's a plethora of revenue channels that would be available to the community that would be able to share net revenue back to the community to use. And so really we have a whole lot of different things that will be going on at the sustainability campus, and as those start to mature and work, those net revenues would also be available to come back to the community, a portion of those. And so you'd ask how we do that. Because the sustainability campus, we have the universities there working, we have different technology companies that are going to be there. We really don't know which one of those process trains will be online first and how the next one will come. Hopefully we will sooner than later. But because we don't know how that revenue is going to actually hit the bottom line yet, the easiest way to do that is have a conversation with staff and create a formula to flow that net revenue back to the community. And that could be either in a bulk format, or we could even look at those individual opportunities and create a formula for each one. But the idea here is to really have the community gaining value through the sustainability campus. So they're bought into this as and show what we're doing, and they want to continue to do that with us. And one of the key things here is that we also think that it's appropriate that every 24 months we sit down with staff and we review the pro formas and the models, and so we can show them what revenue trains are operating, which ones are going to come on, and are those formulas actually working, so that formula brings those revenues back to the community. One other thing that was part of this as well is creating an advisory board, and that advisory board would basically touch the community, the staff, and the sustainability campus, and kind of keep everybody informed of what's going on and drive that process of how much those funds are and when they come back and who uses those. And again, just point out a bullet point here is that everything that we're talking about here is based on the net revenue. So we have to pay all the bills like everybody else, and then what's left over, we'll be able to give a portion of that back to the community. So one of the very quick questions that staff asked us is they said, well, if you're going to provide this benefit to the city, what is it that you guys want? And really, it's pretty simple. We really want the support of the community and the city on the reopening of the landfill, as well as the development of the sustainability campus going forward. And that's really in a political and a regulatory format. And not that it's a dollar amount, but earlier the mayor was talking about contacts that he would have at the Idaho Water Resources Board. You guys have contacts in different areas, and so do we. And really, what we'd want to do is present a common front with those regulators, with the city and ourselves, to show them what we're doing at the sustainability campus and how we're going to bring it online. Because as we go through that process, there's going to be lots of questions, because there's going to be lots of new technology and a lot of things done differently than we do them now. So that would be a real benefit. In our discussions that we had, we also came up with what I call some spitball items. And these are things that we brought up in discussions and thought that they had merit, and that they're going to really take more discussion and more analysis. So instead of kind of lumping them onto this simple platform that we're trying to get accomplished, which is just the refund of those dollars as the sustainability campus goes forward, and get those funds coming back. So we kind of wanted to separate all those out. And they're still on the table for discussion, but those are things that we can add later in an addendum or a separate contract. And the final bullet really is that we're hopeful that the city council will give the staff the green light to kind of move forward and put the agreement together with us, and then bring it back for final approval and signature.
What was the judicial decision that moved it from district court to court of appeals?
Judge Nye in the federal court in Idaho ruled that a conditional use permit does not have a property right. He overlooked the remaining 2/3 of our case regarding the federal authorization under its regular permit.
So the federal court sided with the county, and you guys are the ones that are appealing to the court of appeals.
Correct. We have a
Thank you.
Mayor,
Councilman?
so two of us are new to council. I'm not speaking on behalf of Councilman Harjo, but I don't know the background. So when your first slide pulled up, it said county unlawfully closed. Can you explain that?
Would you like me to do that?
Short version.
Okay. I've had to read thousands of pages of code. I'm one of the scientists that's involved with the sustainability campus. Early on, after acquisition, we've been told we can't recycle, we've been told all kinds of things. And the lawsuit, the actions that the county took were based on a presumption that they had authority to do so by the US EPA. And that authority, as of April 29th in our FOIA filings with the US EPA, was not substantiated. So they did, in fact, for the last 4 years, and I mean, we've been through a real ringer here, but over the last 4 years, all of the actions and outcomes have been based on the theorem that the county had the right to act. And this is a federally permitted facility. They're not authorized by the US EPA to act. And as of next week, we'll be able to share a legal opinion from DC on that.
Can you say their basis for acting?
They referenced Land Use and Planning Act, but our facility was already approved 30 years ago. There was inferences to code that would allow them to do it, which is why when we filed suit on November 5th, 10 days before the county sued us in the county court, we filed in federal court on the basis that we had a federal permit. And there's rules around that federal permit because you have to have certain education to understand those rules and how they're managed. And the complaints from the county showed that they didn't understand the rules because their claims of violations either didn't exist or they were unfounded. And if they understood RCRA and what RCRA is as a federal national program, those rules are stipulated. And so there's reasons that certain parties can and cannot act when there's a federal permit in play.
Part of what brought it all to a head, and it's been years in the making, prior owners than us, were the tires out at the landfill. And I think there was almost 1 million tires at one time at the landfill. And during our tenure, we actually reduced that number down to about 150,000.
We're below our limit. We were authorized by the county at 250,000. We have engineering reports that we're below that limit. But all of this started after December of 2020. And in December of 2020, we provided to the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality evidence that 250,000 whole tires had been illegally buried in the landfill against state law. We also reported over 2,000 tons of asbestos that had been buried in the wrong spot off the liner of the landfill. Big no-no. The next month is when we started getting written up violations of notice from the Central District of Health. And it just continued for 4.5 years.
I think this all subject to you guys opening back up, right?
Correct.
My thought process is allowing you guys to let the council know kind of one, where you guys are at, but two, anytime we can diversify our portfolio and having the citizens not just pay a fee every month, maybe able to get some revenue back to maybe to lower the fee that the citizens pay is always a good thing, right? And so, you know, I'm never gonna not want someone to give the city money, you know, for our garbage. So, that's just my 2 cents. But I guess it all depends on you guys opening back up.
Well, and one of the key things is we take this concept and have it in other communities. Those communities are gonna come and visit and talk to you guys. And so we wanna build that relationship very strongly. So when that happens, we're all looking in the same direction to bring those high-paying jobs and continue with having a landfill that's close and the sustainability campus operating.
Okay, any other questions, council? Well, thank you guys, I appreciate you. All right, recognize the person, would somebody like to come down, speak for a maximum 3 minutes? All right. Conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise any conflict with any person regarding any items on this city council agenda? If so, please set forth nature of contact. Councilwoman Workla?
Terry Oakland emailed me, in regards to item K on consent.
Okay. Councilman Harjo?
I as well received an email from Terry Oakland on that agenda item, and I attended a board meeting of the Irrigation District, and several of us took tours of the tunnels, canals, and recharge pits in the Irrigation District.
Councilman Brennan?
I'll be honest, I don't remember if I got an email from Terry. Sounds familiar, but I might have been all over the place lately. Sorry about that. I did also speak on the phone and an email with James Gilbert regarding item H.
Okay. And really quick, council, not, we'll move on. Okay, consent agenda. Council, I'm going to pull, K off. And just for clarification, and I sent you guys the new, it was, an annual payment, not a monthly payment, just for clarification. But I gotta pull that one off, and then more legal, well, not legal, but I need to put it out for our what was it? So, I'll put it up for RFP. So I'm pulling K. Councilman Harjo?
Mayor Council, I need to make an edit to I, please,
What was the F, you?
and F, yes. But I can make the I by interlineation. My edits requesting legal to add in the annual rents payment didn't get added to the agreement. Yeah,
we talked about it.
yeah, it's a, Mayor, you have a sec, just so if there's no questions on it, cause I think you guys really don't have any hands. And the Spalding family, who is in the audience, I've been back and forth with email with them, and they don't mind the change either, but it would be, it's 100 square feet is the area that little snow cone shed sits on. We went off the 5 cents a square foot, like we do the land leases at the airport, which makes it $5 a month for $25 for an annual payment to operate temporarily, very summer-ish hours, kind of coinciding with the pool operations, so that's what we added if approved.
And then, F, you had,
And then F, did not get an email back from Brandy on that one. That amount is not correct. Some of that has some other charges on it that aren't cities. So if we could just pull it and it'll come back to you on the 27th. It should be less than that amount.
Council, do you have any other questions on the consent agenda, or, you want to poll anything, or any more clarification on any of the items? Councilman Brennan?
Tiffany and Paul, question on that, the item I again, which is the revocable contract. Because of the nature of being a revocable contract, does there need to be any kind of like an end date on there? Or, it does say that it can be renewed, after 1 year, but it doesn't say how many renewals are automatic, so just curious with the revocable nature.
It's a revocable license, not a contract. And so the license is basically, it's granted until it's not. And so with, I forgot what I put in for the notice, but with X number of days of notice, the license is not revoked. So you don't, unlike a contract with land and all that, it doesn't create, like a lease interest or some sort of property interest or property right in the property. It's merely being on the surface of in a public park. And so you can, not unlike like a hot dog guy or something.
So, we can get out anytime if we want to.
Anytime.
Okay.
And it was, the reason I wrote it that way, obviously there's a pool being built there. And so who knows what'll be happening in the future, so.
Fantastic.
Mayor Council, I would like everyone to understand that they have their own power supply there too, as well, so they are independent other than sitting on the park.
Councilman Brennan?
Tiffany, what's the, payment you want through interlineation?
25 annual.
And then, Mayor,
Councilman Brennan?
I'd like to ask for the say, for any offense on school property, the SRO and school administration will work cooperatively to address the offense and refer the individual to the appropriate authority. All criminal matters will involve the SRO. I'll provide that to Tiffany if you're okay with that.
Okay. I like that one.
Okay. Else got anything? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling item F and K, and amending through interlineation to add a $25 annual fee for item I, and changing the language of paragraph 2, the first sentence, to what I stated on the record earlier, through interlineation.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Alright.
All right. Oh, we'll run down to old business. There were none. We're gonna run down to items, number 1, new business. There were none, and then we're gonna run down to action item, deliberation decision on proposed changes to the MHC 6-7B-14. Council, what do y'all want to do? Councilman Workla?
So what's highlighted in red is the only change that I'm good. I checked with Tiffany earlier today.
Councilman Brennan?
Just to confirm, we're on item 2, right?
Yes, sir.
You might call me a stick in the mud here, but, you know, I get to field a lot of the complaints even at a state level, not a city level, but, is there really a need to allow for, fireworks 6 days before the 4th of July and 4 days after? You know, I think we're always getting complaints of the animals and those folks with PTSD and all that. If we could, I mean, in my thoughts, I'm like, fireworks, fire danger, limited to 1 day instead of, what is that, a 10-day range there?
Mayor,
Go ahead, Tim.
this ordinance has been wrote this way for quite some time. So, we do allow them, we allow the stands to pull and operate 10 days in advance.
Sure, to sell their product.
So I think policing will be difficult in that matter. It already is. Who's like,
Yeah, I wouldn't argue. No matter what, it's hard, if not impossible, to truly enforce that. There are some people out there that
Yeah.
follow the rules. Anyways, so that was, I guess I would say it that way, is that, where it's read between hours of 8 AM and noon on July 4th, and again on December 31st, that would stay the same for 1 hour there, half an hour each direction of New Year's. The second paragraph, second line, might often enjoy non-aerial common safe and same fireworks on July 4th. That's my thoughts on it. The only thing this is doing is saying, is changing it to the hours essentially, right? So you can't light after that. What makes that any more easy to enforce?
I do believe, coming from the fire department, we were getting some complaints where the block party continues far after midnight, you know, and
Yeah.
so, I think that's where it came from, was then you had some kind of substance to say, hey, on July 3rd, you have to end at midnight, you know, July 4th, you gotta.
And then start back up at 8 o'clock in the morning the next day.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna get my support on this one, unless we do some more changes to it.
I'm just the messenger.
Councilman?
Chief Moore, me weigh in here.
Can I take the fifth?
What good is limiting the hours if let's say it's like super hard, I won't call it impossible, but super hard to enforce versus limiting the days to or not changing anything.
I have a dream that one day that people will adhere to the laws, and if nothing else, maybe noise ordinance could be enforced. I mean, it's a terrible thing. I used to like fireworks, but I've grown out of that.
Chief, what's your thoughts?
I don't think the hours of today is really gonna change a whole lot. Our problem is we have to witness it. We have to witness a specific person lighting the fireworks to issue a citation. This last year, I did pull stats for the last meeting. I don't have it in front of me. We didn't, surprisingly, we had no noise complaints the first and the second. The noise complaints came on the third and the fourth. And those were, quite frankly, very few.
May I ask, where did this request come from?
It came in, it came through the fire department just prior to 4th of July. And I think the biggest thing, council, was just to be more specific, such as at the very end where it says without a permit, we have to have a permit for flood hearings. So it was just cleaning up. And while we were gonna clean up that one word at the very bottom, we thought, well, maybe we should be more specific to on the hours you could light in, that would be okay during that week rather than 24 hours a day.
Councilman Brennan?
This also, amongst many other things, it goes to protect the sleep and peaceful enjoyment of a traditional day shift worker. And this town has a lot of night shift workers that work at night and sleep during, or work, the opposite, right? So like we wanna have, I guess, quiet times all the time. I'd probably beat a dead horse here.
All right, council, what do you want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Northwest.
So I'm not the expert here, right? And so if this came from the fire department, it tells me that you want some type of structure enforcement or whatever. Did you talk to the police department before? Because they're the ones doing the enforcing, I guess. I'm just trying to figure out, is this a debt issue or is this a real estate issue? I'm just trying to figure out. This should be a motion.
Mayor, council, I mean, it's, you hate to give up on things, but what we have, and it's certainly not just Mountain Home, there are municipalities everywhere that deal with the same thing. We have a fireworks stand that is selling illegal fireworks that some of them can rival the things that we have. Our greatest fear is that we're gonna have those things shoot up. We've had it happen in the past and structure fires and so forth. We've responded to several fires this year, we do every year, but you take a year like we had this year and you put them out on the road, it's just, I don't know how you get your arms around it, but it is a big problem. Maybe at the federal level, I don't know.
So the last paragraph when he says maybe use with a city permit, do you think that will help mitigate? Or what part then? I'm just trying to get.
Yeah, Mayor, council, regardless, the width has to stay.
Oh,
Because you can't let aerials in the state of Idaho unless you're licensed.
You mentioned
and-
permits, so I.
Yeah, I think on council, if the language of the very first paragraph is the problem, then we can definitely strike through that. This was just a suggestion. Enforceability, it's hard. Like Chief Thompson said, you gotta see lighted and painted to know your commit to crime. So if you don't like that language, we can edit it and bring a new one back. They can't sell fireworks until June 28th of 2025. So we have a lot of time.
Chief Thompson,
Yes.
what's your opinion then with that time between the hours of 8
no matter what time frame you put, there's gonna be issues. While I have personal opinions about the fireworks, my professional opinion says this is going to be very near impossible to enforce unless, as I said, the officers are on scene, actually witnessing somebody light the fireworks off.
Councilman Brennan?
Here we go. I'm gonna make a motion to, change this, to actually say, starting in red, between the hours of 8 AM, to 12:30 AM on the 4th of July. And then the second paragraph, second line, light off, enjoy non-aerial, calm and safe and sane fireworks on July 4th. And then everything else will stay the same.
Mayor,
Councilman Arjo?
Councilman Brennan, question regarding the motion. The red text between the hours of 8 AM, modifying to 12:30 AM. Obviously the following day, but wishes to reduce the number of days down from the window of June 28th to July 8th, down to 4th of July proper.
Correct. So there is a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So, any further discussion?
Only that you should July 5th.
Oh, yep.
Mayor.
Councilman Arjo?
We handle December 31st to January 1 in a similar fashion of the holiday proper. I think that's a wise decision to narrow that scope.
Copy that. Can we, so you're saying we can light them off on July 5th?
Until 12:30 in the morning.
Okay, perfect. Just because I don't, my kids are, we get down with 4th of July and we're going to bed, you know, we don't, and they have them and I was like, just shoot them off, you know, on the next day. Okay, so, sorry I missed, was it you, Councilman? Go ahead.
I was gonna amend the motion to say between the hours of 8 AM on July 4th to 12:30 AM on July 5th.
Okay. I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo? Run down to, action item number 3. Deliberation and discussion regarding Mountain Irrigation District for city funds for an agreement to be drafted between the two agencies. Agreement and funding, or are you just doing the MOU with the funding now? Is that what we're doing? If this body sees that,
Yeah, the agreement would have to come back,
okay?
and really, are we drafting the MOU or the agreement, or is the, I don't know what party's gonna draft it.
If it's even legally permissible.
Okay. So council, that's we got one, we gotta see if it's legally permissible. 2, we gotta ask our auditors, if and how, if we can use those availability funds. So, hearing that, moving forward, are you good to go with an agreement pending legal and auditor, council and Brennan?
I prefer to, table this until we get a response from legal on the legality of it.
Okay. Councilwoman?
I agree. I have many questions, that was brought up with the presentation, and so. What do we use? Exactly, you said, where would the funds exactly come from, if we did, so yeah.
Okay. So, give it, was it, Rachel, was there a time constraint for your grant? Is that, or I guess, two weeks put you off if, obviously it's based off of legal and
That's doable. We can wait in 2 weeks. The grant is approved for 2 years. So we have basically 2 years to utilize this grant. It can be extended if it turns out weather's not prohibiting us to do some work.
So then, what I'm hearing, council, is, let's put it off for 2 weeks, get the counselor, Fitzger's legal, I guess, answer, and then our auditor answer. Is all council cool with that? Okay, thank you. Going down to action item number 4, deliberation decision regarding utility customers requesting to reduce EDUs. Council, what do you wanna do? And really quick, Council, the reason it came back is, there's a conflict of interest with me, on this one, so hence I don't follow you guys, so. Yeah. Go ahead, Councilman Brennan, sorry.
So I had called in to staff to ask questions about the appropriateness of a request to reduce EDUs. The letter we got simply says that there's empty tenant spaces, which I guess I didn't or don't understand the necessity of reducing EDUs just because the space is not being utilized fully. I feel like the most appropriate answer would be to simply shut off the water in those spaces, but it sounds like they can't, right? It's 1 meter per 3 businesses.
Oh, Brandon, go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
okay.
I didn't see it. Go ahead, Paul.
Yes, that's true. There's 1 meter for those 3 businesses within there, and 2 spaces are empty.
So is there a fix for that?
The EU request that's before you. That's been, I used to work up in the water utility building as well, and that was a document that we utilized for those customers who didn't have someone in their rental or, which was either residential or commercial.
So what about when they refill that space?
They're supposed to let us know.
And we don't have a business license or business license mandate in town, so that just becomes a huge issue to try and track. Can we simply use this to say, well, not charge 2 of your EDUs until, this is a request to eliminate the EDUs, right?
I don't believe so, sir. I believe the request is to reduce them until they have someone within that tenant space.
If that's the case, I'm fine with that, but I wanna know that there's a method in place to truly track that, a tenant doesn't sneak in and have 6 months of free water on the backs of the citizens.
Well, actually, wouldn't it, the water rate be higher because they're gonna have a tenant, but yeah, I agree with you. Councilman Harjo.
That's very much mirrors my sentiment on this one. There's, the language isn't necessarily here that I can tell that like provides a trigger for notification. I would as well be concerned, like if this was say triggered by an event that like might come from, an act of nature that part of their building was washed away in a flood and thusly like there's no intent to rebuild that in the near future kind of thing, or tie up an insurance or what have you, I'd be more okay with the reduction in this sense, but there's not necessarily any trigger other than the honor system to notify the city when these EDUs come back into play, because the tenant spaces are inhabited, it's a business.
Councilman Workla?
Hey Tiff, help me out. I called you on this because I had the exact same question. And I thought you said there was, because I mentioned this, I said, well, doesn't Hank go in and he'll be able to figure that? But the trigger question, you said something, you told me something.
An occupancy permit.
Occupancy.
Yeah.
Would that be the trigger?
Mayor, Councilwoman, provided they reach out to the city to get that certificate of occupancy, yes, that would trigger that, and hopefully we would reach out to the utility billing department and let them know someone's going in there.
Councilman Harjo?
Fully recognizing that that is a trigger point. How many certificate of occupancy have we done for existing structures in recent history? I know of one, and that's it, in recent history. So, including so much as the discussion that I had with both Hank and Brian Reed was that this is abnormal. This is a long-standing structure. We don't typically do certificate of occupancy. Some of that requirement might be driven by insurance need. That one occupant that got the certificate of occupancy, it was a matter of requirement. There's again nothing that like drives that. That seems like a few and far between incidents, and there's nothing. There's again nothing that like drives that that occupant to get their certificate of occupancy if it's a structure that exists.
But if you don't mind, just, so the other piece of the puzzle that I'm sitting over shaking my head is the trigger for the certificate of occupancy is driven.
Honestly prepared to have a check and balance on this, but I do, I'll say it again, I think it brings up another valid reason to start a business license mandate. And I'm not saying everybody has to pay some exorbitant fee by any means, but check in with the city when you start your business, if you close your business, if you move your business. Because if that was the case and somebody's forced to come get a business license to fill the empty tenant space in this request, that's when their EU quantitatively, whatever, adds up, and that's when it gets applied. So, I've said it for a long time, I think we need to get there as big as we're getting. But that's a conversation for another time. I'm gonna make a motion to deny the request for a utility, for a EU reduction.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Okay.
Run down to action number 5, deliberation decision, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended finding the facts to vacate lot 65 of Garrett Addition. Council, what do you guys want to do? Councilman Brennan?
Make a motion to approve, P&Z's findings of facts to vacate lot 65 of Garrett Addition.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilman Harjo?
I do have one quick question. Perhaps this is for Chris and for Paul. The ownership of the rail spur itself belongs to the city. The land belongs to the applicant here. Does this vacation of the subdivision have any effect on our operation authority of rail spur?
No.
Thank you.
You were there first. All right, it's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan? Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Run down to action item number 6, deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation findings of facts of Turner House Depot preliminary plat with conditions. Council?
Okay.
Councilman Brennan?
I have a ton of questions on 6 and 7, and I may end up combining them. Is the applicant present for question?
Here. Come on down, sir.
Excuse me, I'm probably not totally prepared. One question at a time, so I might get all over the place. One of the things that, let me back up.
sounds right, I apologize about
And so, what is the, I struggle with the questions, I'm sorry, but what is the intent to replace the live-work units with specifically?
To provide more additional just true housing units into the city of Mountain Home. So the attachment or configuration didn't change. They're still attached townhomes, if you will. Just remove the live-work components, which we found, I think 3 years ago when the first application came in, just not market viable. The traction across the greater Idaho Northwest market, those units aren't seemingly being absorbed by the market. So to provide more just true housing units to the project.
And this project is already like cram-packed with units. And you're asking for huge variances and setbacks and, the amount of space you can fill on one lot with one house.
I'm sorry. The prior exceptions from the PUD did have setback components, as related to street and front and rear yard, nothing to the point that we don't do in other jurisdictions, so nothing, I guess, that you don't see in, other infill or dense communities.
I see. I probably sound a little selfish, but I guess I'm acting on behalf of the city. So, what, in a PUD request, there's a give and a take. I feel like there should be. So, and you can disagree, that's fine, if you did. Where would the give be to the city for us, given so many variances in all of the lots and reducing the live-work units?
I didn't negotiate the initial PUD, so I do apologize, I wasn't part of those conversations, so I'm not familiar with the direct asks, of both sides in that initial agreement. Ultimately, to provide additional housing to Mountain Home, I think was the basis of a lot of those requests, and being able to provide market rate or affordable, attainable homes to the city. I'd have to do a little more research on the initial requests of the PUD and our give-take balance.
So, obviously, this subdivision, it was a pretty hot, contested subdivision. So the reason I voted for it, one, because I believe everyone has their property rights, you can do what you want. But two, what sold it to me was the live-work units. So, if this body sees fit to go forward, so be it, they're the governing body. But if I had my druthers, I would like to see some sort of commercial entity in that area, right? And there's nothing over there, there's nothing, I was hoping to get the live-work unit where someone could live up top, do a business at the bottom and give some commercial entity down there, right? So, man, I got slaughtered for this subdivision. So, it's just, I don't know, I wanted live-work units, or I wanted some sort of commercial entity on that corner piece over there. So, it's just my 2 cents, council, that's my 2 cents. Right, Councilman Brown.
I might divert some questions to Brenda. Would you come forward a little bit? The new document, which is, this is truly part of item 7, but as I said, I'm combining. The amended and restated planned unit development agreement, page number 5. And I've done this before. I've talked about things now that were already approved in the past. But some things that catch my attention on here are page 5, section G near the very top. There's language that starts, it's like this: the rear yard setback 15-foot minimum, generally, but permitted down to 7 feet for a setback, subject to review and approval for a limited number of units. What's the?
That was in the agreement, sir?
What's that?
Or was that in the agreement, the actual PUD agreement, page 5?
The restated one, the amended and restated one. It's attached to the B behind, the PUD.
And again, tell me what bullet, sir?
page 5G, rear yard setback, 15-foot minimum generally, but permitted down to 7, subject to review and approval for a limited number of units.
May I correct? The alley loaded products in phase 1, rear driveways and the rears of lots access off the alley, and that rear yard setback is the side of the home, if you will, opposite of the garage that is closer than that 15 feet, I guess, minimum, only because it creates a unique streetscape where there is no really backyard. It's a unique product type that exists out there now, but that only limited, I guess, the front of the home, if you will. It's not a contained backyard. It didn't encroach on the PUE or utilities. So it was really just to fit that alley loaded product type.
Yeah, I can appreciate that explanation. I'd like to see that language in here so that maybe not just simply at your discretion or building officials' direct or discretion only, that you put in a request and say, hey, this whole other street that doesn't have alley loaded, you know, then that can have a 7-foot setback for the backyard too. Like, I like to see the specificity, I guess.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Councilman Brennan, would you like to see that as identified as lots and blocks as well within the plat itself also? To identify that specific type?
Probably. I don't know the correct answer to my question, right, of what I wanna see, but something more specific as to a limited number or generally permitted is pretty vague to me. And the sets, like the side setbacks, interior, 0 feet for attached townhomes, that means like they have a shared wall, right? 0 feet for attached townhome unit, 0 to 5 feet for single-family detached units. So does that mean one of them sits right on the property line, the other one's 5 feet off?
That's correct. That's called a zero lot line development. And that one set on the property line has a fire rated wall and all the building code requirements that allows and such.
Okay. No, I'll tell you, since you're asking now, this is where I usually get to put my foot down a little bit. And I've always been against 5 feet between units. In our community, you're absolutely right, it happens other places, but I don't think 5 feet between two houses is appropriate. I think it's hard to get firefighting in there, fire apparatus, a ladder to go to the roof line and be able to extend out a safe distance for firemen to climb up if they had to. I don't know if these are 1-story or 2-story units that we're talking about. And then the lot coverage up to 70% of the lot is filled with a house now. Brenda, I don't know what the current minimum or maximum rather is for that zoning.
Mr. Mayor, within an R4 zone, you can go to 7. So there's no minimum coverage. So
Is there maximum coverage not allowed on an R4 zone?
you could go to setbacks. So in a standard development, you can go, maybe 20-foot front, your 5-foot side, I think it's 12-foot, and then a 15-foot rear. You could cover the entire parcel with the exception of that setback area with a structure.
Okay, and that's under what we call permitted by ordinance already. That's not typically the rule under planning and development allows for, if with approval allows for huge variations to that.
Correct.
And so I don't know, am I reading this right, that with changing the setbacks, reducing the amount of setbacks as per standard ordinance, you're still only up to a maximum of 70%?
That's correct, yeah. We still aim to have a backyard, the side access and walkways.
Does anybody else have anything right off the bat?
says you're gonna put, instead of live work units, let me get back there, sorry. It's more housing, but then you're gonna do more of a park setback, and that's an HOA, if I read it correct, right? So the HOA is gonna take care of that, not city, not.
We moved the park, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, you're good.
We moved the park off that northeast corner, which was to be dedicated to city.
Uh-huh.
Moved it internal to the site as a core amenity to the project, and then made it private, correct.
Okay.
In that, we also upped the amenities included in that space to try and include a larger play area, sports courts, potential pool, and other pieces. So didn't want to have burden on the city as we dialed in the amenities.
Okay, and I got my question answered, okay, yeah. I'm good.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan?
Are those amenities you talk about, since there's an HOA, is it limited to the residents of the subdivision?
It would be private, but until we get to capacity and understand kind of the rules and rights of the community, we haven't crossed that bridge yet. But I think that'd be the long-term intent, is yes, for that community.
Mayor. Councilman Sergio?
Question for you regarding the stormwater areas. Is there any overlap with like the children's play area, outdoor pavilion, and that stormwater retention?
We'll tie the systems together, so that way like the sports courts and the dog parks or whatnot will share the same private stormwater infrastructure. So they'll be tied in together, I guess. Nothing will touch the city system. It'll all be contained on site.
But the play equipment will or won't exist on top of.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Like
I-
stormwater, like storage.
So similar to the other parks in the city where it's in the swales, if you will,
Yes.
we will have a dedicated children's play zone that's atop that, so not in the retention area. We do plan to use the retention areas like around the city for open space and grass.
Council, any other questions?
Yeah.
Councilman Brennan?
So I'm apt to vote against your request unless there's, I don't know, maybe some better like meet in the middle or negotiations with some type of a commercial aspect out there. Do you have any willingness to do that still?
I'd love to continue the conversation if that's what it'll take. We found that the live-work units, even in higher metro areas, struggle to lease in general compared to just standard residential products. And seeing the need of housing in the city and others, we thought focusing more on traditional housing units would be a quicker path to getting housing in the downtown. The live-work units, while a great idea, we've had a couple in different jurisdictions, and they honestly are kind of lost leaders. They struggle to find tenants with that accounting firm or seamstress or whatever reside in. So it just hasn't been a winning solution in other product mixes that we've seen, and to try and keep it moving, grow housing in our own home, that's why we've been ended up with just traditional housing units.
Paul, on this, if a vote of denial is approved, then they're done for a year. Is that the
Yeah, that would be prohibitive of it. If you're gonna go back to the drawing board, so it's, well, not all the way back to the drawing board, but you're gonna do some modifications, depending on how extensive they are, it would require potentially another public hearing and remand it back to P and Z, or depending on what you're doing, you would just table it, pending what changes, the further discussion, or have them remand it back to staff and table it to another date on something that might appease the city council but not, but keep the application pending.
Sure. That's the thought process I was going down is, although I'm not in favor of this, I don't wanna outright deny you to hold you up for a year, but I would like more conversation to occur. So I would make a motion to table item 6, for now. And maybe engage in that conversation with city staff, Brenda, Chris, or whoever, might be involved. I don't think we can be involved until the very end. And then, I guess depending on if there's a negotiation, if there's an agreement, then it probably will have to go back to P&Z. Or
If it's a material change, we would have have to go through the public hearing process again. Which technically doesn't have to be remanded to P and Z under 67, 6509 if you guys hold the public hearing. But if it's a material change, it has to revert back, have a public hearing again. And I don't know if it's a material change yet. I gotta hear what it is.
Any, my thought process, any commercial entities, maybe it's not a live work entity, but maybe a commercial office space or a gas station or retail or something, you guys have on your books that you want to bring to the table on that corner? I know that's by a significant material change.
Traditionally, we are focused in the residential developments. That's kind of outside of our traditional business right now. The community center did have in the prior version some public community space when it's going to be a more of a public oriented park. Yeah, I'd love to continue the discussion. I don't see it, I guess, naturally in this moment of what kind of commercial space we can carve out or incorporate. I guess at this time.
Councilman,
I just want to say, I agree with him that it doesn't have to be a live work unit, but some type of commercial, even if it's like a convenience store, or a barber shop or something over there, you know, a couple of items would be great. So, and not huge square footage takers, but something to that effect is what I'd love to see.
Do you have any focus of what area along that? Is it Elmcrest you're most interested in, or Marathon, anywhere inside? Is it any more specifics to what you're looking for as far as the commercial?
The location?
Yeah.
Probably right on the corner. And I'm not a business guy like that, but I feel like that'd get the most eyesight visibility is Elmcrest and West Fifth and what is it, Marathon there, right in that corner. And I think that's how it was presented to us in the beginning, is hitting that corner on both sides would have some, at least two-story live work units. So I was
Mayor, I'm in agreement to table this. Sounds like, like you said, there was some contentious, history on this, and again, I'm just trying to get spun up, but, you seem to have like at least 3 or 4 solid concerns. And I would like to, just figure out exactly more in detail what you're getting at on some of them. I have no problem tabling it as well. I guess we need to make a motion to a date, right, to get it back on.
Not necessarily, because staff want to work. Just time is of the essence.
put it back on there. Get some changes as soon as they can. As soon as they want to.
Are you saying the date certain?
Yeah, like,
The only reason you would do it for date certain is the cost of advertising and all that stuff.
but if it's not material,
Well, if it's not material, then you're right.
yeah.
So, I guess my question, Paul, is, obviously, the live work units, they're just gonna do live units. So if Mayor Sykes asking for a gas station or a convenience store on the corner, that's a huge material change.
That would be a material change. Maybe changing the nature of the residential use to being more of a mixed use. I would argue that, the public would wanna have another opportunity to say, yeah, I don't want a gas station there, this is a residential neighborhood, or, yes, I would like to have a gas station there. Et cetera, et cetera.
Well, even though they were supposed to be live work, so you live up top and then I have a barber shop down below, or I have a pet store below, that was still commercial.
You're asking for the very first approval.
Yeah.
If there's a material change from the first approval.
Correct.
Oh, from the very first, so this was already a live work?
Yes.
It was live work. Okay, then it's just the nature of what it is below that's changing. That's not material.
Okay. And this is just me throwing out my ideas and thought process. You don't have to follow my ideas or anything. It's this body that has to choose it, not this guy. But I just would like to see there's really no commercial over there at all. But that's just my pie in the sky vision. So it'd be nice to see it, I think. And I know, like you said, you don't do commercial, you do residential. So my thought process too is it always comes back to it's your ground, but the PUD does make it to where the council can ask for certain things too, so especially for changing things, so. So, do I have a motion, or did I not get a motion? Did you motion it to table it?
I did.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second? Second. Been motioned in second, just to table it. Before I call for the vote, council, what's your thought process with, I didn't even get your name. Tyler, sorry. What do you want Tyler to focus on, or get back with staff to bring to you guys? Some direction. Yeah, Councilman Brennan?
I think I kind of already told you the direction I want to see, but I also wanted to throw in there, I just ask, are you tracking that one of the adjacent property owners is trying to do a big roundabout in that circle?
We are aware of the roundabout in the
Okay.
northeast corner.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the parcel has intended long-term use. I think it's another mixed use project, so I'm not sure where they're at in their information.
It may have nothing to do with you, but do you have the name and contact information of that landowner or developer?
I think it's Dan and Taryn.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I guess, go back, council, what do you, when you got your, do you have anything that you want to bring back to appease you guys, or? Ladies and gents, sorry. Nothing? Councilman Pedro?
I think the sentiment here is that the removal of that live work space, and having that be a material change that requires this, if you were to have an inkling to, or desire to kind of stick with that commercial facet in that, I think that it doesn't encroach on, you know, towing over the line of being material change to what the origin, or what the original idea of this is. I think I'd like to see something commercially related in this space as well. Forgive me for asking, I was trying to scroll through the PUD because I could not find it in here, but the underlying original zoning of this is, of this lot is.
Mayor, the underlying zoning is the R4 PUD.
So, in its current sense, we're utilizing the PUD as R4. But what lies underneath that tool of the PUD? Was that C4 or I1?
It is currently zoned R4 PUD, with a, before that, I believe it was industrial.
And that was the contentious part of it, cause it was borderline, we thought, okay, was that illegal, not illegal, you know what I mean? So that's where, that was another part of the contentious, and then being close to the airport, all that. Thank you. Go ahead, Tucker.
Considering that live work units are more in our, I guess, Rolodex of options, including the live works back into the project, would that suffice what council is looking for? If we move live work units back into the project to some configuration in lieu of a gas station, just as an example, would that suffice for what the council is looking for related to commercial space?
I think so, and that's what we approved.
I just wanna make sure we weren't, I guess, thinking to true commercial parcels and what those uses might look like.
You know, I don't have the drawings in front of me anymore that we did way back when, but, you know, I saw it as a two-story, I don't think it was three there, but two-story unit with a nice open shop down below. Yeah, and I think that was a great fit. Kinda going with what Councilman Harjo said is, maybe just keep in mind what that area, the city has kind of a master plan or master idea for, which was the rail access, and now these kind of residentials are kind of sneaking in there and stuff. They're not sneaking, like, right, they're all getting PUDs and whatnot, but keep that in mind as you work through the plan, because that's what the city wants to see, is that commercial, industrial area, but you can't do industrial now in that space, but
Okay, council, there's been a motion, there was, excuse me, a second. Do we do that for,
Yeah, it was
for
a
6 and 7?
if allowed.
If allowed, okay. I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to table items 6 and 7.
Been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all call for the question. Councilman Workla?
Aye.
Councilman Harjo?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan? Okay. ordinance 1796, annexation of the city property. Councilman Brennan?
See if I can spitball. Make a motion to, read this ordinance by title only for its one and only reading tonight. Suspend the rules, read the ordinance, you know what I'm saying? I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, got me thrown off too. That's a motion. Do I hear a second? It's been motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Workla.
Aye.
Tip, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 1796, the ordinance annexing to the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, the real property hereinafter described and declaring the same by proper legal description thereof to be part of the said city of Mountain Home, Idaho, and providing an effective date.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Workla. Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Alright, ordinance passes. Run down to ordinance number 2, action item ordinance 1797, zoning C4 of city property. Councilman Brennan.
Scott's got this.
Councilman Harjo.
Make a motion to suspend the three reading rule and read this ordinance by title only for its one and only reading.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan. Councilwoman Workla.
Aye.
Tip, please read ordinance 1797.
Ordinance 1797, an ordinance of the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, declaring the real property hereinafter described to be C4 zone, subject to limitations of allowed use, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewithin, and providing an effective date.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Workla.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Harjo.
Aye.
All right, run down to final comments. Council, what do you got? All right, I got festival of beer this weekend, Saturday, 11 to 9. It's a festival that you can, it's for everybody, and it's just samplings and stuff like that. But everyone, if you do attend, know that all your dollars go to Christmas. So I jokingly say we do a little bit of sending to pay for Christ. But here moving forward, we'd love to see you all down there. It's the Fund the Force's largest fundraiser of the year. A lot of work goes into it. Love to see everyone down there and be responsible. Hearing nothing else? Okay. Cool.
I have a comment. Oops. Well, I have to take my last opportunity to speak to you guys and let you guys know that this is my last council meeting as the City of Mountain Home's Senior Economic Development and Communications Specialist. I have accepted a job with the State of Idaho Department of Commerce, and I'll be on their Business Attraction Specialist team. So I'm excited to start that endeavor. I gave my 2 weeks to Tiffany and the mayor on Friday, so my last day will be next Friday. So it's been a pleasure working with you guys. I just wanted to kind of make an announcement and say thank you for all the partnerships.
Miss ya. Good luck.
And to
Thank you.
me, if life gives us lemons, we make lemonade, right? So we get to have her at the state of Idaho looking for businesses for City of Mountain Home, right? And you throw in this direction.
Yes, my goal is to change the script up there. Maybe it'll be a little less, oh yeah, there's Mountain Home, and a little more, don't forget about Mountain Home. Great opportunities down here. So I'll be up there, and like I said, I'll be happy to send some stuff our way, and you'll still see me around, and I'll still be in Mountain Home.
Thank you, Jackson.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Congrats.
Thank you. Sorry to
Councilman
interrupt.
Brennan?
Make a motion to enter into executive session.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Workla. Councilman Harjo. Councilman Brennan. All right, we'll enter the executive session.